Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Someone in the studio who is jolly jump up. David HOFFMAN, he is terrific. And what he does, though, is going to make you jump up. And so welcome to our show, David.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So in an elevator speech, if someone introduces you as David HOFFMAN, one of the franchise owners of Stretch Zone, what would you say to them?
So I'm the original franchise owner. That I actually opened the very first franchise of Stretch Zone, which is practitioner assisted stretching. It's like personal training, but just for stretching. We use a proprietary strapping system to take you through a greater range of motion than you would normally achieve on your own. Please stop by and give us a try. That's my usual speech to people.
Well, the name Stretch Zone is great because we all feel we don't stretch enough. Now, you're not talking about yoga stretch. You're talking about something else, aren't you?
Okay, so we're very different from the long-held stretches in yoga or similar modalities, right? So in yoga, the common saying is the prana is the pathway to the asana. I may have said that a little bit wrong. But you're basically in yoga trying to get into positions that allow you to breathe very, very deeply and reach a higher level of consciousness. And flexibility just is a very nice byproduct of that. What Stretch Zone does is just stretching. We work with the neurological system. We're not holding our stretches for a long period of time. We're working with something called the stretch reflex to allow you to move through the range of motion you already have without resistance.
So when I was at your center, I saw one of your, what do you call them? Are they
practitioners?
Practitioners, okay. Working on someone. It was an older gentleman, and he was holding onto his leg and making it go back and forth. So what, you probably don't remember who that man was, but what are people coming to you for? Are they because they've just had a hip operation or knee operation, or are they just coming there generally to be, fit?
The vast majority of our clients come to us just generally. First of all, if someone came to us who had just recently had the surgeries you mentioned, like a hip replacement, a knee replacement, we would actually refer them out to a physical therapist or other medical professional, because that's beyond what we do. We want people who just have limited range of motion due to inactivity or a recent minor injury that has hampered them from going through a full range of motion, or they've been walking differently, they've been compensating because one leg is bothering, they've been walking differently, they've lost a little bit of their range of motion. That's really what we're trying to achieve with our clientele. We don't really work with a lot of recent injuries. That would be more in the purview of a physical therapist or an orthopede.
Well, we have Gene Wicken is watching right now. People jump on to
Gene Wicken.
Yeah, I don't know.
Trying to recognize that name.
Oh well, we have a lot of people, and sometimes people even have questions, and then we can answer it here.
Awesome.
We'll see what happens. But let's say you're in very good shape. Would you want to be in Stretch Zone? Do you want someone to help you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, people who are already in very good shape are some of our best clients, because what happens is people concentrate on working out, lifting weights, doing cardiovascular exercise. And one of the reasons Stretch Zone came about is when people went to their personal trainers, at the end of their session, the trainer would stretch them for 5 minutes or so, and they would want more of the stretching, just to be stretched. Just because all of that working out, which is great for you, I'm not discouraging anyone from working out, don't get me wrong. I think working out is imperative. But you don't want to work out and then not perform any flexibility exercises, because your muscles will, over time, lose some of their natural range of motion.
So if I want to have a better posture because of sitting so much at my computer and what I do, is that a good thing for me to do?
Sure. One of the common things that people come to us with is because their posture has been disturbed, not because of any skeletal issues, which, again, we would refer them to an orthopedic if it was a skeletal issue, but simply because they have a tightness in certain muscles and a weakness in others. So frequently what will happen is their chest, their front delts, everything has gotten tight. The shoulders roll forward.
Yes,
and,
you're
and
describing
down.
me.
Yeah. And if you sit a long time in a chair, your hip flexors get tight, so your legs are naturally in a pulled up position, and you kind of take on that kyphotic position where your shoulders are rolled forward, your hips are rolled forward, and it really needs a combination of a couple things, which is to stretch out those muscles to allow you to open up. And then we would try to get them in touch with a good personal trainer who could strengthen the muscles, the antagonistic muscles. So the scapular retractors, like the rhomboids and the trapezius, and get their shoulders back into that position.
So that's common. It sounds like
you
have this
one.
down
Yeah.
pat.
Oh, yeah. That's probably the most common reason people come to see us.
So let's move way back before there was a stretch zone or you knew about it. What were you doing then? Before?
So for most of my life, since the age of 17, I'm sorry, I worked in fitness centers, starting as a floor monitor, then becoming a personal trainer. Then getting my national certification as a personal trainer. I then changed my major in college from mathematics to exercise science and wellness, got my degree, ended up, I think my first management job was for Boca West, and then I went on to
You were
Boca
managing
Woods.
something though.
Yeah, I spent almost 20 years managing fitness, aquatics, and spa centers for country clubs. Was actually what I did.
Okay, so how did you find out about Stretch Zone?
I did not go there for an interview. I did not go there for a job. I went to get stretched.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes, I was having some issues from working out improperly, because like most personal trainers, I don't take my own advice, right? I tell other people how to do it the right way, but I go and grab the heaviest weight I can find and lift it, And I was suffering from some various pains, and I actually went and got stretched by Jordan Gold, the founder of the company, and I got up off the table and I went, okay, I'm pain free for the first time in 4 years after one session. How can I make money with this? That was my thought. Like, okay, if this works, there's got to be a way to make money with this. And then I went to work with Stretch Zone.
So how did this person who was the founder, tell me about him.
Jordan, as far as from his background with Stretch Zone, he was a personal trainer at Turnberry Isles, I believe, down south. Aventura, yes, area. And just like I mentioned earlier, one of the main things that happens with personal training is personal trainers will stretch their clients for a small amount of time at the end of the session, and more his clients were asking him to stretch more, to have more of the session be dedicated to stretching. So he educated himself in the most common form of practitioner-assisted stretching at that time, which was active isolated stretching, and the Aaron Mattis method, it's commonly referred to. He educated himself in that manner, and started to bring that to his clientele. Quickly found that not all of the stuff that Aaron did, although it's brilliant, some of it was not appropriate for his older clientele that he was working with. So he gradually began to adapt some of the stretches and come up with the strapping technique that he later perfected, so that he could actually work on an older active population rather than the method he had been educated in, which really worked great, but it was really meant for athletes and active younger people. It wasn't really appropriate. You don't want to throw an 80-year-old's body half off the table while you're stretching them. So.
When you talked about strapping, why don't you explain that?
So we use a proprietary strapping method, which is it's actually patented. So it's very, very unique, because it's pretty hard to get a patent on any kind of exercise equipment these days, because pretty much everything's already out there, right? So what that allows us to do is to isolate different muscle groups while we stretch them. So when you're on that table, your hips can be stabilized, your leg can be stabilized in a set position, And that allows the person, first of all, to fully relax. When you're strapped down and nothing's pulling, you actually relax and you allow the practitioner to take you through a greater range of motion. It's also very important for the practitioner, the stretcher, because most of the stretches that we do, theoretically, you could probably pull off without using the straps. But by the time you stretched for an hour or 2 hours of clients, you'd be covered in sweat. It's hard. We don't have 7 arms to hold all the limbs down. So the strapping holds the limbs down for us. It does some of the work for us, and it allows us to really isolate the muscles and help the person relax and take them through a greater range of motion.
Now, I remember doing a little bit of Pilates, and it seemed like they had straps, but not. It was like you use them just to kind of pull yourself up and all.
Sure.
Now, do you think that the stretch zone is good for your core? Is that what we're talking about?
So stretch zone is not a strengthening program. It can work to strengthen your core in a very specific way, which is that when you stretch a muscle, you get what's called reciprocal activation. So if I stretch your hip flexors, for instance, those annoying muscles on the front of your leg that cause your pelvis to tilt forward and your legs to come up to your body, which is a common problem with low back pain when you sit a lot. It's also in the process going to activate your glute muscles, right? If we stretch the antagonistic muscles, it activates the muscles on the other side of the body, and therefore can assist and help in strengthening the core. But we do not do any true exercises for core strengthening.
Because that's separate, isn't it?
We'd like to keep that separate, and we have great relationships with area personal trainers at all of our stores, at all of our locations. We have these really beneficial relationships with area personal trainers who can do the other side of it for us.
Well, what I want to do to make sure when people are listening, just like Jean is watching rather, let's talk about how someone can get in touch with you. That's really important. So your let's see. So we have a website. It's called what?
www.stretchzone.com.
Oh, easy.
And that lists all 73 of our locations, but you can search by zip code.
So if they want you, though, how do they find you?
So my locations are the Central Boca Raton location on Clint and Military. And the easiest way is
that's where I was. I believe.
That's where you stopped by. Yeah. And the number there is 561-419-7895. I also have the East Boynton location, which is on Federal and Woolbright, and the Lighthouse.
That's right near my house.
Right near your house, yeah. And the Lighthouse Point location, which is on Sample and Federal Highway. And we are now opening our newest store. The contractor says October 17th. He's a very, very good contractor, but there are no guarantees. On October 17th, on the corner of 441 and Atlantic, to serve all of those country clubs, that the new 27,000 residences that have opened up in the last 6 years.
That's absolutely great. So you really have become an entrepreneur, but you're doing something that's very helpful. So I was just thinking about this, though. So someone comes there, maybe they're kind of bent over, and then how many sessions do they have to have that they will see a difference?
We generally do all of our agreements. We do 3-month agreements. And the reason we didn't just pull that out of thin air of doing a 3-month agreement, we found that was the approximate time in general, based on our first 2 years of operation, that it took people to see a permanent change. You will actually notice a change day one. The first time you get stretched, there will be a change in your posture. There will be a change in the way you feel and the way you're able to move. It only takes one session.
Does it hurt when you're finished?
No. No. As a matter of fact, a question that we're asked a lot is, am I going to be sore after this? Or, I don't want to join today. I want to wait 2 or 3 days and see how I feel. And I can honestly tell you, over 95% of our clients feel no soreness whatsoever. And I don't want this to sound insulting in any way, but if someone gets sore from the initial stretch that we do, which we intentionally are very, very cautious with because we don't know the person's body, and we're very, very, very gentle. If they get sore from that stretch, we know that they have probably been inactive for an extended period of time, and they're the very client that should be signing up. They shouldn't be waiting. They should be getting in there as soon as possible, because stretching in and of itself should not cause a significant amount of soreness.
And so how many times a week is the appropriate time to come?
The majority of our clients come twice a week.
Twice.
Well, our packages are based on 1, 2, and 3 times per week. You could come every day, and we certainly do have clients that come every day. There is no research that indicates that coming more than 3 times per week, stretching more than 3 times a week, affords you any greater advantage. It's not going to hurt you, and some people just want to come every day because it feels great. But you don't have to, and most of our clients come in about twice a week.
And can someone learn to stretch without you?
Oh, of course.
Okay,
of course. Stretching can certainly be done without all of our fancy gimmicks and tools, and without our practitioners. It certainly can be. But be prepared to allow an extended period of time. What we do in a half an hour with the average client would take them about 90 minutes on their own. And that's 90 minutes of continuous activity.
And motivation.
And motivation, yeah. Yeah, we call it lazy man's yoga, right? You get to come in, you just lay on a table, and we do all the work. You get all the benefits.
That is just great. So are you finding, this is a strange question, but more men come than women?
Yeah. You had asked me that when you were in, and I saw your face drop when I answered that question. You came in and you said, "Oh, so you get mostly women, right?" And I said, "No, we get more men than women." And your eyes got big, right. and yes, we actually get more men than women.
Why do you think that's true?
Women are more willing to stretch themselves. They're willing to take stretch classes at the gym or aerobics classes that incorporate stretching, and they're willing to take that time to stretch. Men just won't. They just won't.
So
Plus, my practitioners are really good looking.
They are, yes.
I think that helps a little bit.
Well, the one I saw was a man when I was there.
Yeah.
But
he's good looking too. He's
very good looking, but he was very big and looked very strong, and so this is a marvelous thing. Do you think this is a wave of the future?
I really think stretching is taking off nationwide. When we opened our first stretch studio, I don't know the exact number, but I believe there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 or 70 stretch studios nationwide. We have 70 of our own now, and there are about 300 nationwide now.
So that is, yes, because, well, I think that yoga, even we started talking about yoga, people wanted to go to because they got to stretch. But now that you've described this, it's not the same. I mean, it is in a sense, but so someone who's going to the stretch zone could also go to yoga.
Of course.
It's just different.
Yes, and we would encourage them to do that. We would encourage them to take part. One of our biggest referral partners is Pilates classes, because Pilates is intended to strengthen your muscles through their full range of motion. So the ideal combination, come to Stretch Zone, get a greater range of motion, and then go to Pilates and strengthen yourself through that range of motion. So we work very well with Pilates studios. We work very well with yoga studios, where they're able to continue to stay flexible once they've achieved whatever initial results they were looking for.
So Stretch Zone, everybody, it's an easy way to think about it. Stretch Zone, I mean, it says exactly what it is. My guest is David Hoffman. He's a franchise owner of 3, maybe going on to 4 Stretch Zone centers. And let's give them the phone number again for them to contact you. And also the website is stretchzone.com, as you said. And then it'll go by zip codes. But if they want to find you, then they have a phone number to call. And
so the easiest way to reach me is 561-419-7895. That is the Boca Raton location. And when any of the other locations don't have a receptionist at their desk, the calls are forwarded through. But the stores operate independently, and they're pretty big operations. Each of our stores has 5 to 8 practitioners working. So we do
really
we do quite a few sessions at each store. And my suggestion to everyone is to please pick the store that's most convenient to you, because that is what we have found to be the biggest limiting factor, is convenience. People are going to come to when it's convenient for them. So you go online, you pick the store closest to you, and that's going to be your best bet.
Do you know what I love? You should instead of calling it a center, you call them stores.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. That's very interesting.
So our initial concept was very, very different when Stretch Zone first started out. We used to educate people. We're a provider, by the way, of continuing education credits by certified for massage therapy to provide continuing education credits. So that was a big part of our early business. And we would train people. They would come in and they would spend, at that time, up to a month training to get certified to do the Stretch Zone method. And then we would allow them to purchase table and equipment and go to people's homes. So the
like
reason
a massage therapist.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them are massage therapists, but one of the strict rules that you have to agree to become a Stretch Zone practitioner is that you will not practice massage therapy. Because it's under two different. One is considered personal training. Stretching is personal training through the Department of Agriculture, and the massage therapy is through the Department of Health. So we have to keep them very separate, and that's part of our non-compete agreement that they don't offer massage. For legal reasons, we can't have them doing both. Right.
Okay.
So to make I had to throw that in there.
I'm glad you did that.
You asked the question, so I had to throw it in there
You're so articulate.
just in case I ever end up in a courtroom. So that was the original plan, was that the people would go to people's homes. So where the store came from is when we switched over our training center in Aventura, which was this tiny little 600 square foot storefront.
Hole in the wall.
Hole in the wall. There were no lights as far as I remember. I think we had a lamp. And we changed that over to start offering it as a service. Initially, people who were going through their training would actually offer the services, and clients would come in and pay for it, and that's where we set up our point of sale system, our credit card processing,
so it was
everything,
a store.
And we called it the store.
Right.
And that just stuck. It stuck to this day. Even when Jordan posts on his Facebook, when we open a new location, it says the latest store opening of Stretch Zone. Just stuck.
Okay, so go back to this table with the bands. Now, why don't you try to describe that to somebody? You could do that. So it's like a table.
So we actually use Shih Tzu massage tables. Sorry, that wasn't actually a cuss word, guys. If this is live radio, it's a
right.
Shih Tzu massage table. I'm sorry, Shiatsu massage table is what I meant to say.
Well, I have my Shih Tzu here.
You have your Shih Tzu there. So that's what I was thinking.
Dog,
exactly. And so they're modified to accept this patented strapping system. So the base of the strapping system begins with polyurethane attachments, which can attach to any massage table actually, with clamps, and then the central hip strap we were able to find. I believe we initially used seat belts from metro buses, although they're now manufactured manufactured specifically for us. But that was the initial. That was initial, and the initial waist belt that was used was an aqua jogger. That was what was initially used, and again, now that's manufactured independently for us, and it's specific for us. And it's a little bit different. It's thinner and fits people better. And then on the legs, the initial strapping mechanism that we used was a weight belt, an extra large weight belt that we would modify. We would cut it, we would alter it to hold the person's leg in place. Again, that is now manufactured independently for us as part of the patent. So once you get it patented, you get everything manufactured independently for you.
You know, I love who you are, because I probably could have other people on the show who have Stretch Zones. There's no way they would be like you, because not only did you grow up in this business, but this was you're one of the first people that really got into it, so you understand every little thing. So for people to go, I don't care where you live, you need to come to David HOFFMAN's organization because he really understands this. I mean, you can hear he could describe what the belts were like and from what they first started. And so, and I get the feeling that so you're lying on the table and you have these belts that hold you down, so when you're stretching, it really makes you stay there. It's not letting you get up. That's where the stretch is, right?
It also protects you. So when we're stretching your hips, we don't want your hips rotating while we're stretching. For instance, we're stretching your tensor fasciae latae or your iliotibial band. We don't want you to rotate while we're doing that. We certainly wouldn't want you to your low back to arch while we're stretching your hip flexors. So it helps stabilize you, and that actually allows you to relax because you have no discomfort. Your body, if you've ever been stretched by a trainer or by a massage therapist, it can be a little daunting because you feel some degree of discomfort, and the natural reaction to that is to tense up.
Sure.
So with us, because you're strapped down, there's little to no discomfort, and you're able to allow yourself to be stretched.
So I'm going to ask you a favor. I'd like to come and try one, and
of course,
and have this, because hopefully I'll get you on the radio again, because you're very good at this. I mean, have you done a lot of radio interviews?
I have not done a lot of radio interviews.
You have. I've got to get you on this show a lot because you're good. You know that?
This is the debate club and Toastmasters.
You're good.
Things like, spend enough time in Toastmasters, you get really really good. My daughter will actually
your skill,
count.
Right?
My daughter's at Dreyfus. My 15-year-old's at Dreyfus studying communications, and she went to Bach studying communications. And anytime I do one of these, or I do a talk, I did a talk at Meisner, she'll count the number of times I say or ah. I get a sheet when I'm done. I'm like,
that's so bad. Okay, well, this is what
ah.
we're going to do next time we have you on the show. So you said she's 15?
She's 15 years old, yeah.
We're going to have her come.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Oh, you're going to have her come to the studio.
Yes.
But it's very true. I've listened to myself also. I've done this for 30 years. And I also listen to, sometimes I do not only the but when I start the show, it's now. And I've been starting the show that way. So I try to critique my own self. But the thing that we find that's very interesting is that our show is not scripted. You can see that.
Yes.
It's just friends, and we're just talking, and that's why people love this. I'll tell you one more thing, because we have about a minute or so. When I have physicians or people who are really experts, they come with all these sheets. And I'm not going to let them read these sheets. So I just start talking. Well, why did you become a doctor? Before you know, the flow goes, and that's what we do. And you are extraordinary. So, daughter, stop picking on your dad, because he's really good. And we're going to have him on, but we're going to bring you on next time, too. So, David, this has been just great joy. And I'm so happy that I was one of the first people to bring Stretch Zone to my show, because I'm very thrilled with it. I'm glad that I stopped in there, and I'm going to come by. I don't know which one you're going to be at, but I'm going to find you, and I want to get stretched, not by you, but one of your practitioners, right?
The first session at each store is done by the general manager, so if you came to the Clintmore location, your first stretch would be with me.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to make that date with you.
I'm going to drop this in here just like all the people do when they're in an interview. The first session's free.
Oh, my God. Okay, listen, I'm there. All right, thank you very much, David, and we'll talk to you again. Have a great day.
Thank you.